Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Ruby Rogues podcast. This week on our panel, we have Valentino Stoll.
Hey now.
We also have a new rogue, and that is Ayush Nuatia. I hope I said that right.
Yeah, close enough. Hello. Nice to be here.
I'm going to be nervous about that like every time. Anyway.
I honestly don't care.
Yeah, I'm Charles Max Wood from Top End Devs. And we have a special guest this week. That is Adrian. Adrian, do you want to tell people who you are and remind them why you're so awesome?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I don't know if I'm so awesome. I try to be, but I don't know. Thank you. So my name is Adrian. I'm a self-taught engineer, and I'm the author of Avo. Most people probably know me like that. And more recently, I'm one of the hosts of Friendly.rb, which is a boutique Ruby conference in Bucharest, Romania, happening usually in September. Otherwise, I have one cute 1.5-year-old baby boy and a beautiful wife, and I travel to conferences and talk to people and try to help however I can.
Nice. So, let's just dive in. We had you on to talk about Avo, I think, a couple of years ago?
A couple of years, yeah.
Yeah. So, I think last time, a lot of the focus was around building like admin interfaces and stuff, but it looks like you've expanded it some and you're doing some content focused stuff. So, do you want to just give everybody the 10,000-foot view, what Avo is, why they might want to use it? And
Sure.
then we can get into the details on how it goes together.
Yeah, sure. So it's so after 3.5 years, it's still sometimes difficult to tell people what Avo is. But what I say is like it's an admin panel framework / content management system / internal tool builder for Ruby on Rails. So it helps developers build Ruby on Rails user interfaces very, very fast. But it's not just user interfaces. So don't think of it like a UI kit, but think of it with that it has some business logic as well. So you tell it something like, hey, I have a product, and the product has a title and a description and a price, and you tell it what kind of like attributes those are, and Avo will read that and will create for you like a beautiful CRUD-like interface, a very advanced one where you can see all your products, you can see details, you can sort, you can filter, you can apply actions to them, and so on. So this is like the basic gist of it, but it does so much more than just an admin panel framework.
Okay, so when we talk about this, and I don't know if I brought this up last time, but there are other admin panel frameworks that are out there for Rails, right?
Yep.
I hate them all. So
I know.
I haven't tried Avo yet, so I keep wanting to, and it's just, time.
Go for it. Yeah.
Anyway.
So the things, go for it.
How do you make this not suck?
Well, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and we did a lot of work for the past 3 years to make that a possibility. So when I started, I just thought about it. I saw that there were like Active Admin and Rails Admin and Trestle and Administrate and many others. But I think that when they were created with different contexts in mind, with different technologies, and probably different goals as well. When I started building Avo, I wanted from day one to be something that you could give to your consumer. So something that looks good, that works well, that has some advanced use cases. So it's not just a glorified database browser.
That's what I hate about them.
Yep, I know.
It's their glorified database browsers, and so what happens is as soon as you hit an edge case, and an edge case is anything you have to write code against them for.
Yep.
It just gets really gross really fast.
Yep, I agree. That's the feedback that I got from everybody, basically. Like, it helps me go like 60%, 70% of the way, and that's easy. But then like the rest of 30%, that's so freaking, difficult to do and painful. And sometimes I just abandon the whole thing. And I knew about that. And I wanted, so whenever you hit that, because it's kind of the same with Avo, like the first 60, 70, 80, depending on the app, sometimes you can go like 90%, it's done. Avo does the whole work for you. But whenever you have that rest, 10, 20, 30%, what we try to do is give you many escape hatches, right? So you can modify the queries, you can modify what options are there, you can modify, you can bring your own frameworks inside, like for search or authentication, authorization. And whenever there's something that we cannot build for you or we haven't built, we just give you like ERB partials, and you can write your regular Rails code however you're used to it. So again, it's a lot of escape hatches, a lot of places where you can come in, hook into the whole business logic that we wrote, and you can take over, or like in the worst case scenario, you can take over like the HTML, the Ruby code, JavaScript, CSS, whatever you need. So yeah, this is all for you to not get stuck and not to feel like a prisoner, like I can't build this or whatever.
So I think 60% is generous, but I'm just going to say, so what does Avo give you then that, is kind of the baseline case, right? So I'm going to plug this in, kind of do a minimum amount of effort. What do I get for that?
So you get, like, with a minimum amount of effort, you get like a CRUD UI, a very advanced one, where we have, for example, we have about 30 fields. We have some simple ones like text area, whatever number, but we have like the price field, which works very well with the money gem from Rails. We have tricks editor, tip tap editor. We have a key value field where you can create like a hash inside the UI. You get access to all of Rails' associations, like as advanced as you want to do it, like belongs to, has many, hasn't, belongs to many, whatever, STI, whatever you need, polymorphic with searchable. Like this is a big pain point for active admin users, is like if you have a belongs to and you want to attach a user, but you have like millions of records, it will just jam on you. Like we give you that as a searchable, async kind of, multi-select experience. So that's like, you get quite a lot, to be honest, with Avo.
So
Yeah,
you said he'd used it.
yeah, I just want to gush about Avo for a bit because I was like, I think about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I had to add an admin panel for my client project, and I never actually used one before because I think, yeah, like Charles, I just hate them. I prefer building my own stuff, like just that does just exactly what I need. But for a
What
client
I've ended
project,
up doing.
yeah, for a client project, it made sense. So I played around with like 3 or 4 different options, and Avo was the only one that didn't make me want to jump out of the window. It
Yet,
honestly, I yet true, but honestly, it gave me no pain. I was up and running so quickly. The key value field you mentioned was like a nice surprise because I just created a JSON B field on a table, I think last week. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is going to cause me trouble in Avo, isn't it? And I go like, no, it's not going to cause me any trouble. It's like this amazing thing just out of the box. Um, yeah, just the docs. I must tip my hat off to the quality of docs. Like honestly, anytime I ran into a problem, I just go search the docs, and it was I'd found what I need like in seconds. I remember I was trying to add like a search field, a top level search field for an entity. And we had Elasticsearch on that particular entity for like
okay.
the user facing app. And I could just hook the same search thing into Avo with like just a simple block. I just set a block in the Avo resource file, which is like the analogous to the model. And yeah, it's using the same thing as the user facing app. And I just super impressed at like every turn by just how customizable it was, yet how much it gave out of the box. So yeah, I just wanted to gush about it because I wasn't expecting to be impressed by an admin panel because
Yeah.
I've avoided them for a good reason, but I was sufficiently impressed by Avo.
Gotcha. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks. I appreciate the kind words. Yeah. So there are two things here. Like one is like, okay, we all hate, the pre-made kind of things, like, the admin panels, because we have maybe, like when I speak to other developers about active admin and administration Rails, I don't know, whatever, they say that the the experience is painful, and we had to fight these ideas with Avo. But like the thing is, like any piece of technology, like even Rails, at some point is going to be difficult to implement something, right? If it's Rails, if it's like Nginx, you can zoom out or zoom in however much you want. But there is a sweet spot there where you can get super fast. You can go super far very fast, and then it's just a matter of like, okay, I need to have the proper tools and proper hooks and the proper escape hatches to be able to build my own thing. So yeah, what I usually, so this is, I think this is the most difficult thing that we have to do is get people to try it. I just tell them, like, give it a half an hour, play with Avo, like build something of substance, half an hour, and you'll figure it out if it's something that you need or it's something that you don't need, but you definitely know more than just assuming it's crap. Yeah.
Right. So when you say try it for a half hour, I
Yeah.
guess one thing that we should point out is there is a free license for it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can go in without risking any money or anything else, you can just go pick it up.
Yep.
And
so Avo comes in three flavors. It comes like the community version, which is free. It probably has 60-70% of all the features. Like most of the work that we do is on the free features, like supporting advanced edge cases with associations and all kinds of crazy stuff. And then if you need more power, we have the pro and the advanced packages tiers, which give you a little bit more. But if you want to try it out, we don't have a trial feature yet anymore. We had it last year, but we just took it out. But like if you try the free tier, you're going to know if this is something right for you or not. And if you have any questions, like for the pro and advanced, like, hey, can I do this, can I do that, definitely reach out to us, because we like answering those questions. And we have like proper docs for everything, so you'll see how things work or don't work. So yeah, we try to make it as self-serve as possible.
I wanted to walk through just real quick for our listeners here, because there are so many admin tools out there, and there is a differentiating factor here, and that it's very like very UI driven. So you've like definitively set how the UI of the admin looks like, and then you just support a DSL that allows you to drop in pieces of where the admin dashboards are. And I think that's definitely one of the differentiators I saw with Avo, like compared to any of the alternatives, right? Like all the other alternatives either had like a generator, like with Administrate, right, where you had to generate the view that you want, or the dashboard manually. And then like even Active Admin follows that process a little similarly. Or you have something completely out of the way, like Motor Admin, where it's like, hey, you just throw everything at it, and it like, you get everything, but it's like a little bit of a mess, right? I feel like Avo's a nice middle ground there, where you have like kind of this DSL that's just for like where to put things in the buckets of the user interface, which I think is really clever. And so just like how does that work? Right? Like just imagining like Flex or like view components or something, right? Like it's so clean of an interface. Like I'm super curious.
Okay, cool. So let me touch upon like our decision of using a DSL. So when you're building something like this, you kind of have, like you said, like three ways of doing it. One is you generate things, but we figured out quite fast that if you're going to generate views, or if you generate a lot of business logic there, you're going to lose the ability to update. Like because we are shipping a DSL, we were able to ship so many improvements over the time of 3 years, and the developers had to do just very tiny adjustments to the DSL or the configuration. Like imagine if you have like, I don't know, 15, 20 resources there, and at some point we want to push, some kind of, breadcrumbs or whatever drop down. You would have to go into every file, every view file, and update it and make sure there are no conflicts. And, maybe you did something there. So again, that's a little bit messy. It's not for every project, but it's a little bit messy when you're dealing with generated stuff. We do generate a few things for you. Like we generate the configuration files, which are the resources and actions, and some view files whenever you want to take over, whenever you want to take control. But we think that the DSL gives us this power where, we can ship a lot of value and in upgrades. And so basically people buy one product, but after a year you have like so many more things upon like new things in that product with very minimal upgrade with a very minimal upgrade process. And to answer your question, how did we do it or whatever, like I don't know, we just think it's the best way. But at some point I think we're going to go a little bit down that route where you push some code there, like with configuration, but we will give your users the ability to add some things in the UI when in your production application. For example, we have this cool feature called scopes. So you go on the users page, but you have like tiny tabs on the right where you can say, okay, give me just the admin users or just the non-admin or whatever users. This is still driven by configuration. So if you want to add another tab, you have to generate a scope in your app, commit it, deploy it to production. But we would like to give your users the ability to like create a filter for that, for those users, for that resource, and say, okay, just keep it here as a scope because I want to have it, very handy here. And this is going to require us to do some upgrades and to figure out a way to make it beautiful and nice and a good experience as it is right now. But this is coming somehow. I think this is the next iteration of Avo and the configuration, having that.
So you mentioned upgrades, and I'm always curious because I know upgrading is always painful no matter what tool you're using.
Yeah.
So like, what does that process look like, and how can you like let people be at ease? Like, oh, it's not so bad.
So we just tell them it's not a bundle update. So you just say bundle update, Avo Pro, Advanced, or whatever you have. And usually we don't have breaking changes. We do have sometimes, we do have them, but we have like a nice upgrade guide where we tell you, okay, if you're upgrading for 256 to 257, you're going to watch out with these two things. This is why we did them. This is why it's a breaking change. This is what you have to do to avoid it. So we did have like a lot of breaking changes going from 2 to 3, but that was a big update. But usually there aren't any. And if you do bundle updates, you sometimes get like a new feature or new big feature that you maybe didn't plan to build, but now you have it. So the upgrades are quite painless, I would say.
So I kind of want to get into the use case a little bit further because I'm kind of imagining there's this fuzzy line, I guess, between what I think of as like an admin panel versus, say, just stuff that the user's going to use, right? So if I wanted to set up a dashboard for just a regular, so let's say I'm building a software as a service, right? So they log in, they don't have all the admin features, they just have the basic features for whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I can use Avo to build those interfaces too.
Yeah,
so
of course.
So just to give an example, right? So one app that I've been wanting to build for a while is I want podcast guests to, when they get an invite to come on the show and they pick a day and time, then I want, Zappy or something to hit an API and create a form basically where they can come in. And I just looked up the tip tap where you can do the synchronized editing. And that's the other piece that I've been trying to figure out because I don't want to build it myself. But anyway, so the guests and the hosts can all use stuff that I build in Avo. And then on the other end, where I'm managing users and stuff like that, same deal, right? I can use Avo to build that stuff out. So it's kind of all of the above.
Yeah, so we have a built-in authorization system that uses Pundit by default, but you can hook up Action Policy, which is kind of similar. And I think there's a driver for can if you want to do that. And using the authorization feature, you can tell Avo like, okay, this is the kind of user that should be able to see the user's resource or this page or that page, or they can create new ones or edit ones. And using those Pundit policy methods and a few more that we have properly documented in our docs, you can tailor the whole experience. If you just say, for example, like a user cannot create a product, perfect. Avo knows what to do. It will not show the create button. It will not allow them to go to /new. It will do everything. So just to make sure that they have only they have access to only the things that they have access to. So we try to give you all of those tools, and we have all of those primitives for authorization. So you could create two different, let's say, UIs or panels for two types of users. Yeah,
that makes sense. I guess the other question that I have, and this is something that I've been thinking about for a bit, is I've been wanting to build specific tools for people who are building a software as a service, right? And it sounds like you've got a lot of the things that I've kind of been dreaming of. Okay, I'll build this for people. But if you've built it, it occurred to me, well, maybe I just want to sell my own sort of dashboard panels or things like that people can stick into an Avo. Is that even an option? Like, can you build plugins for Avo?
Yeah, so we do have an API. We have built an API for Avo 3. It's not very properly documented. This is something that we wanted to do this year and have like this plugin and plugin system with a directory where people can create their own fields or their own resource tools or their own, I don't know, dashboard cards or whatever other things that they're thinking about. So basically the plugin system will give you access to different initialization hooks where you can, start a plugin and inject some, menu item or like create a new field and add that field there. So it's not a very rich and environment, plugin environment. But if you do want to build something like that, reach out to us because we love talking about that and we love supporting that. Yeah. And speaking about this, like this is another thing that people get when they use Avo, and especially like the customers that get like the pro or advanced license, and not only those, like even the free people. We have a Discord server, we have a GitHub repo, and whenever somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I have this use case that Avo doesn't work for us, or it can't do something," because it does happen. Like you can build software in so many ways. When that happens, like we try to make sure that one, we build it for them, or two, we give them the proper hooks for them to build it. For example, like the attach scope. So whenever you have like a has many and want to attach a user or something to a different record, they wanted just some records to appear, not others. And I said, that's perfect. That makes sense. Let us build it for you. And in about a week, we just deployed the new version and they had it. So again, like if there's anything, we try to do this, relationship between us. Like if it's anything that doesn't work or whatever, we either build it for you or we give you the tools and the hooks to be able to do that thing, which, sometimes with other tools, and I'm not talking the admin panels, but sometimes with other tools, you would pay anything for somebody to listen to you. When you're using a gem or a JS plugin and you're stuck and nobody listens to you, like, come on, man, I need some help, So yeah, this is what we're trying to do with Avo and everything.
I just want to talk about the business model a little bit because I think Sidekick, is the most famous probably product that kind of follows this business model. So how did you decide that you were going to do this community version for free, which is open source, and then the paid version on top? How do you decide which features go in free and which features are paid? And then finally, just can you talk about the technical side of how do you actually distribute a gem that isn't free?
Yeah, gotcha. So how did I decide? That was like when I started with Avo, I didn't mean to build a business. I just wanted to see first if I can build it because that was amazing. I love admin panels. I built a lot of those and internal tools, and I wanted to see if I can build it. And then I said, okay, I want to sell it. I think at first I just wanted to sell it for money, so it wasn't on Ruby Gems or whatever. But then I figured out, and by speaking to people, like, hey, nobody's going to use it if they can't try it, and that's true. Like, if you cannot, test it out a little bit, it's you're not going to choose it. Not going to buy it from just a few images or videos. So, how I got to like free and paid. Everybody probably Sidekick, like you said, like I saw Sidekick and other products, and Okay, there's a free version. Perfect. I'll use this one. And there's a paid version, which is the other one. How do we choose which features go where? It's not an exact science. It's a mix of how much it takes us to build them, how much it takes us to maintain them, or how much we think it's going to take to maintain it,
Mhm.
and a little bit of how much value they add, right? For example, like the dynamic filters where you have like stripe styled pills where you can go and you just go on a field like price and say filterable true, perfect, that's it. That's all you have to do as a developer. And then in the UI, you're going to get like a drop down and say, okay, filter by price. And you're going to have like a nice pill and say, I want it more than this price or less or between or whatever. So that's like a very powerful feature, which we spent, I don't know, I think 3 months building it or 4 months or something like that. If you wanted to build it in-house with your team, you got to have first of all, a product person that knows what they want to build. You got to have a designer to design it. You got to have a front-end person, so somebody that knows how to build that, because I don't want to say most teams, but some teams only have like back-end developers. So you see, it's like you need a whole team to build a feature like that. Or you can pay something like, I don't know, a fraction of what you would pay for that team to build it for
Mhm.
Avo and get so much more. That's kind of our value proposition. Instead of having teams build certain features for you, you kind of have them with Avo.
Nice. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Kind of, I did think it would be a bit of an art because there's no like rule as to this is free, this is paid. It
Yeah,
tends to be a bit of just
Mhm.
intuition and stuff.
yeah,
So
and yeah, and again, like most of the work we do on the free features. Like you're not gonna believe how much, because we want to support so many things.
yeah,
But
Right.
yeah.
do you ever transfer a feature from paid to free, like with an upgrade, because you're like building a lot of new features that are paid? Do you ever say, oh, this feature maybe we can now give it for free as well?
Yeah, we did do that. So when we jumped from Avo 2, no, from Avo 1 to 2, or from 2 or whatever, 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, I don't know. Something like 8 features from Pro, we just made them free. It was like custom fields, custom everything. I don't know, I think translations, something about search, like a lot of things we just made for free, because it was kind of difficult to try to support them as paid and make people kind of like check if the person has a paid license or not or whatever. Some of them were just because it was easier for us, and some of them because they really made sense. It really made sense for us to give it away for free. So most of the features went downstream from paid to free. We only had like one tiny feature that went from pro to advanced, because we made it so much bigger. It was released as a beta to see if people
Mhm.
are going to use it. It was good, so we said, okay, we're going to build this whole thing around it, and that was moved to advanced. But again, like, we're developers, we don't have any VC money. We're not in this business of trying to squeeze every little dollar and penny from everybody. We know how difficult it is when you're starting out, and somebody just saying, okay, this is going to be paid from now on, you're gonna have to, like, we don't want to do that. We're not in that business. We want
Yeah.
to help you guys. So yeah, we haven't done that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's good. Like, yeah, like one of the things that kind of gave me confidence to use Avo on this project was that I knew that you weren't VC backed or anything. You were just indie developers, just like me. So
Yeah.
I knew that I wasn't gonna get messed over by usual VC tactics.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you handle the paid distribution of the gems? Because I've only ever used like free gems of Ruby gems. So, like, if someone's paying you, how do you kind of, what's the technical side of distributing that?
So in the beginning with Avo 1 and 2, we had everything on GitHub in one repository. So if you were a little bit savvy, you could go in and say false to true, whatever, and you say, okay, I have the license for free and whatever. And we knew that some people were going to do that and whatever. It was all good. It kind of helped us with the traction. We wanted to get it in front of people to get feedback and see, like, do you really need this? Is this something that you would, does it help you that much? So in the beginning, we just had that, and we were pushing all the features in one gem, and you only had like one license key that would check on runtime if it's a valid license or not. Now, with Avo 3, we broke it up into multiple gems. A little bit, we did that because we wanted to keep some gems hidden, like behind the paywall, and because it made sense. We had too many things in the main repo. And what we do now is we have, I think, 6 or 7 gems in total. And when you want to install it, you got to have, if you want to install those behind the paywall, you got to have a gem server token. So basically, you still use a gem file and bundler and the bundler kind of infrastructure, but instead of asking for the gem from Ruby gems, you're asking it from our private repository. And our private repository uses bundler authenticated the authentication feature, and it'll ask like, do you have a token? And we will check very quickly, like, is this token still valid? Can they use this version, and so on. So basically, you still use gem files, but you
I
get
think
them.
Sidekick does the same thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. They have their own private server.
What are you serving the gems with? Because I know there are a couple of private gem server systems out there.
I just built my own.
Built your own.
Yeah, I know. So there were a few gem in a box and a few others, but
Yeah.
I couldn't figure them out. I'm not that smart. Sorry, I couldn't figure them out. So I just reversed engineer. So you know what I did? I set up like an ngrok, the tunnel view, and
I
then
love ngrok.
I just pointed bundler the gem file to that ngrok URL, and I was just seeing like what request do they do, right? What request does bundler do? And I figured it out. I reversed engineered it, and I built my own. So we're still running on that. It works very, very well. It's a Sinatra app. We had it on Fly.io. Now we have it on something else, but it just works very, very well. And
I was going to ask if it was a standalone app or if it was part of your beautiful monolith, as DHH would put it.
Yeah, no, that's a Sinatra app. I don't know why we built it like that, but we have a different Rails app that checks the license keys and does the licensing and the subscriptions and everything else, which is a Jumpstart app. We're very happy with it. We moved fast when we built it.
Yep. You should, if you get some time, you should really blog about what Bundle actually does under the hood, because I think that would be a fascinating blog post.
That would be so interesting, yeah.
Do you know how much I searched for that information? Like, there's no information anywhere about what happens. Why does it go to the versions route? I don't know. So yeah, I think I should have written that back in the day, but I think I still can remember a few things if I go
sell it as a premium video somewhere.
yeah, for sure. Of course. $7 course. Yeah. Yeah. But if anybody wants that code, it's an ugly, stupid code that just works. I gave it to somebody. I think it was Georgie Boy who wanted to do something with Flex UI. But if anybody wants it, just reach out and I'll figure it out. I can just copy paste you that one Sinatra file that handles everything.
So I'm a little curious how many people are using Avo out there, because I think when we talked about it before, it was kind of new and there were some things you were still kind of turning wrenches on to make it, not leak. And now it seems like it's something that people go and use, and it's fairly battle tested. So how many people out there are on it?
So it's kind of difficult to count the customer. It seems straightforward, but it's difficult because they get doubled in Stripe, whatever. They get more accounts. Whatever. It's about I think 200 and something customers, paying customers that we have right now. I don't have the usage numbers, but we definitely, I think, all throughout this whole time of 3 years when we built it, and we got some more trust and street credibility from the community. Like before, I was going on calls with customers or potential customers, and they were asking me plainly, like, what happens if you go under? What happens if you don't want to build this anymore? Which is a fair and valid question. Maybe it's a little bit rude to ask it just like that, but whatever, it's a fair question. And we don't get those questions anymore. Right now, we're a team of 3 people. Gabriel being like the third, junior developer that we hired. Paul was the first. We're 3 people working on this almost full time, everybody. I do a little bit less engineering now than before. Paul is very good with that. I'm trying to focus on marketing and sales and thinking about the big picture and everything, and of course going to conferences, because this is what I'm doing lately. So yeah, but we're 3 people. It's a good business. We are profitable. We have a decent 4-figure MRR. Yeah, we have a couple of few surprises I can't talk about right now, but yeah, things are going well, and we have a clear path forward. We're providing value, and yeah, it's not that shabby, business. I don't know what's happening with it. That was like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, when we first talked about this. Now we're definitely going somewhere.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
will say your pricing is really reasonable.
Thank you,
it-
Valentino.
yeah.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
I mean, more than reasonable, to be honest. For a lot
Yeah,
of for a lot of businesses, it's a very small price to pay for an admin interface. That's really really easy to get started with.
yeah,
I will say I'm curious. Like, I found this templates
yeah,
on the site, and there's
yeah.
only 3 of them. I think Solid Q being one of them, and then Bullet Train and Jumpstart Pro. Is this like a pattern you're looking to expand on, or I thought this was really interesting.
Yeah. So there are a couple of things. Yeah, the templates are there, so people that have, for example, Jumpstart or Bullet Train, they can install it very, very quickly. But if you're starting a Bullet Train app right now, Avo is going to be the default admin panel, so it comes shipped with Bullet Train. For Jumpstart, you're gonna have to run that template, and it's gonna be okay. But I think I know where you're getting to. Like, we are going to try to build some kind of, it's not starter kits, but like, imagine this. You want to build a ticketing app, right? A ticketing support app. We give you all the templates, like, okay, these are the models, these are the resources, the actions, the filters, everything you need for a regular ticketing app. And then you can get those for free, and you only have to pay for the Avo license, right?
Mhm.
So it's kind of like once, but it's not kind of like once. So you get those, and then you can go and explore and update them and add more things. But you get the ticketing app almost for free, let's call it, right? You only have to pay for the app. And then, like, there's another, I don't know, inventory app or whatever. So we are thinking about these things to and expand into that direction. Definitely, it's just need some time to start building it. That's all.
There's never enough time, right?
Right?
Never.
One of these days, Chuck and I will get our internship program started,
Yeah.
and we can start chipping away at everybody's side projects.
Well, this particular side project that Adrian's talking about is essentially what I imagined Rails Composer to be. So,
Yeah, I feel that there's a lot of movement around like new Rails projects or starter kits, but not necessarily starter kits. But
uh-huh.
how can we start an app and not have to add device by ourselves every time? And there are a couple of things out there, like regular templates, Rails bytes and whatever. There are, like, on the other end of the spectrum are like Jumpstart and Bullet Train.
Mhm.
But I think that people are kind of thinking about, hey, is there a middle ground somewhere or something? And it's definitely a good question. Is that something that you're thinking of building?
That is exactly what I'm thinking of building.
That's great. So it's not exactly a starter kit. Yeah, I'm looking
No.
forward. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. If you want to jam at some point, definitely, I'm open to that, because yeah, um, I think there's a need a little bit for that.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
we
will
should
say,
definitely talk and hammer it out, because
I kind of miss the days of, like, I don't know if you knew the site Open Source Rails, but it was like a
No.
page that just had like common solved problems with Rails apps, and it had like Ticket Mule was one of them for like a bug ticket tracker, or like
uh-huh.
they had all kinds of like popular repos that were just like full featured apps that solved a specific purpose. So like Avo would be on there as an example, or like for
Yeah,
admin tools, or I just had a bunch of them.
yeah,
And I kind of miss having that central resource of like, okay, here's a full app you could just download and run, and it
yeah,
like solves this problem, right?
yeah. Yeah, I agree. But you gotta. So see, we're going back to the same thing. Like, I hate admin panel frameworks. I wouldn't use them, right? So it's still, I would like to have one, but I don't trust it. So But I
Yeah.
think it's a shift. It's a little bit of a, we gotta improve ourselves and shift our minds a little bit.
I mean, I will say I used that site mostly to learn, right? Like
Yeah.
I was curious, like, okay, well, what else can I do with Rails? And I would like go onto that site and just like download a new app and find a new feature like I didn't know
Yeah.
existed, right?
Yep. Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
and so I feel like there's definitely like you know, is it recreational or not kind of vibe that's like kind of split, a lot of people focus. And so I love seeing stuff like Avo where there's like, okay, a business behind it. Like you're
Yeah.
not gonna like
Yeah.
quit on this, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
have to worry about like it going stale as an open source project.
Yes.
So I hope that like idea keeps going, right? Like Jumpstart Rails and like Bullet Train, like these are all similar paths, right? Like okay, they've created this thing that's very useful, and now we can feel pretty good that it's going to continue to be useful and not like break all
Yeah.
the time, right? Like there's definitely like using open source. That is like everyone's fear. Like how long will this last, right? And this guy will just burn out, right? Like
Yep, 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 exactly. That's a
yeah,
huge problem in open source. And there are projects and projects. There are some projects that you can call finished after, 1 week of working on it and whatever, just maintain it like once a month or something. But there are projects like Avo, like because we see that in active admin and Rails admin and everything like the others, people can't work like we're three people that working at this almost full time. Like if we were to do this as an open source and we had to do jobs and everything else, this wouldn't have worked and nobody would have
Mhm.
anything like this. So yeah, I think it's a sign of maturity for the Rails ecosystem, that it can support these types of projects, that people they find value in. Okay, I'll just pay for that instead of building it myself.
Yeah, and see, we're getting into this, and I try not to just overbearingly talk about, you know, what I've been working on, but yeah, this is where I got into it, right? So you're talking about ticketing, or I'm thinking like user management or subscription management, or
Yep. Yep.
building in, so you get the piece of the engine that's the Stripe webhook that everybody has to write 18 times every time they build an app, but then
Yeah.
it connects into the rest of this that you get in your admin panel, right? And so that's the piece that I'm imagining, so that if somebody goes out and builds software as a service, right? They say,
Yeah.
okay, I want the subscription management, I want the user management, I want the this, I want that, right? I want people to be able to sign up for my products, right? So you pull all those pieces in, you load them in as engines, right? Or
Yeah.
you hook them into Avo, right, for the admin pieces of those. And so maybe you're pulling in, here's the front facing and here's the admin facing, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm going to load both engines. I don't know, something like that. And
Yep.
so then at the end of the day, it's like, hey, look, I want to build this app for podcasters. Well, I've got the billing and the this and the that and the other all set up. And I can get a support person to come in and use these systems because they're already fleshed out. And
Yep.
so, and then Avo gives you the means of adding like custom fields and stuff like that that give you the features that you need to customize it, but it's not this overwhelming thing that you have to pull in order
Yep.
to put out what you really care about, which is helping the podcasters.
Yep. Yep. I agree. It's always a fine balance. I,
Yeah.
I think, because whenever you're pulling in something like Jumpstart or Bullet Train, you're gonna have to learn something, or Avo, like even Avo,
Yeah.
like you're gonna have to learn something about it, right?
Right.
There are just a few. I don't know. I think there's no gem out there that will help you like substantially and doesn't give you like some docs. Okay, this is how you do it. So you're gonna have to learn something, but there's like a
Right.
fine line about, yeah, I need to learn everything about it, or I can just jump on it like this
Yeah.
fast.
And
Yeah.
that's the other piece of that, right? Is yeah, I don't want to have to go in and understand the internals of the system. I don't want a clunky API. I mean, that's my big issue with most of these admin panels, right?
Yeah.
Is it's got this clunky API that is halfway based on the database, except for when it's not, but it kind of is, but it shouldn't be, but it sort of will be. And
Yeah.
so I have to go and I have to figure out the ins and outs of why it does or doesn't do something. And so at the end of the day, it took me as long to install it as it would have taken me to build my own thing, and I would have understand my own thing front to back.
Yeah.
And so, I want, hey, look, I got all the fundamentals that I needed to build this app running within a couple of days,
Yeah.
right? And so now I can go in and I can do the custom logic that, hey, it doesn't exist this kind of a thing for podcasters and RSS feeds or whatever the heck else you're going to build. Anyway, you mentioned conferences, and you told us before the show that you were working on Friendly.rb. So what's the story there? It's in September.
Yep.
Are you the same week as Rails World, or?
No. It's actually it happened like this last year, and this year it's the same. Like before Friendly, there's Yuruko, like 1 week before.
Okay.
Then there's Friendly, and then 1 week after Friendly, there's Rails World. This is how it happened last year. Again, this is how it happened this year. Of course, we kind of actually we did coordinate, not kind of. I was on Amanda. Like I wrote to her like, when are you are you still on that date? I want to know, because I don't want to be on the same week, definitely. And then I coordinated with Mohammed that will organize Yuruko. So yeah, it's gonna be September 18, 19. In Bucharest, Romania. The weather is just perfect. We have amazing food, amazing coffee. Like the Italian people told me that we have amazing coffee everywhere. So, there's that stamp there. And it's a beautiful, walkable city. We're going to have beautiful, very nice speakers. I don't want to name drop the attendees, but there are great attendees as well, because I've been seeing the ticket sales. And we have announced the first batch of speakers. It's going to be Rosa Gutierrez from 37 Signals. You might know her from the latest release of SolidQ. She built it. Then Nabila Yusuf, which is a software engineer from Factorial from Spain. We have Stephen Markheim, which is the SQLite guy, or SQLite Jesus, as Yaro nicknamed him. And we also have Tom Rossi from Buzzsprout. If you know Tom, you know his smile. He's gonna be great. And we do have a couple of surprises. I'm still waiting on confirmations from people, but I do have a few other great speakers incoming. And it's a friendly atmosphere. It's going to be 2 days, one track, so everybody does the same thing. It's very loose. We do have a schedule, but we don't really follow it, but it still works out in the end. We're going to do some activities like last year. Ayushi, I think you remember, we went and did walking tours. I got a few tourist guides, and we did walking tours through Bucharest. And after the conference, we went to the mountains and we did some activities there for a day. So it was really cool and friendly. And a lot of people told me that they made, a lot of friends, and they really enjoyed it. So hopefully we can keep the bar up this year as well.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed last year. I was lucky enough to speak last year, and everyone there was just super nice, and Adrian and the rest of the organizing team were just really on the ball. Like it was hard for me to believe it was the first year of the conference, just given how slick it was. I mean, I'm sure there must have been fires behind the scenes, but I never, as a speaker and attendee, I didn't see any chaos or anything. It was just a very relaxed vibe. Like I'm still like fairly new in the Ruby community, because I only started working with Ruby about in 2020, so just when the world went to shit. So I haven't really had a chance to meet many people in the community in person. I've obviously interacted with people online and stuff, and Friendly.rb is just a great place to meet people I'd kind of worked with online, and meet some new folks as well. And it was the name is pretty appropriate, I would say. It's a good name, and it's well earned.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the name brought the people. I don't know.
It could have done. Yeah, it could have done. It's unique, isn't it?
It sounds pretty friendly to me. You shouldn't laugh. It only encourages me. That was terrible. So my question on some of this is like, I've been to conferences that are highly technical, and then I've been to conferences where it's, hey, look, soft skills, and we're gonna pat your head and stoke your ego, and we're not gonna get as deeply technical. And then I've been to other conferences where you kind of get a mix, and then it's others where there's a major trend out there. So right now I'm talking to a lot of people, and everybody wants to learn AI and Ruby. And so like 80% of the conference is that, and the other 20% is, and we had some keynotes. So if I show up, what kinds of talks am I expecting? Or if I fill in your CFP, what kinds of talks do you want me to send you?
So first of all, I want everybody to write this to submit their CFPs, because one of the things that we really want to do, we kind of say we want to do two things: bring like really known people to the region. Like last year, we had Xavier Noria, we had Jeremy Smith from the States, Jason Sweat, we had Nick, like a lot of well-known people, and others in Ayush and others that I'm missing right now. I apologize. And the second thing we want to do is bring newcomers to the stage. Like my first conference talk was in 2020 in Wrocław in Poland, and it was very difficult for me to get there to give my first talk. And I know there are so many people that have a message, have something to say about it, to teach others and to speak about that. And we want to do that. So everybody, please submit a CFP. Regarding what are you going to see, like we'll see this year. I really wanted to keep it as balanced as possible. Like we started, like the first talk was Xavier telling us about the internals of Zeitwerk, which are like, you gotta like really scratch your head.
Yeah,
and
that breaks your brain.
Exactly, right?
He's so freaking smart.
Exactly, definitely. I wouldn't be able to do what he's doing. So
Yeah.
okay, and then we finished off the conference with Jeremy speaking about what it is like and how he is a good like indie developer and with his consultancies. And in between, we had talks. We had one talk about AI. Jason spoke a little bit about how to use ChatGPT, and then we had the somebody making Julian Cheel made music with using Ruby, and it was a really cool vibe. We had somebody talk about how to build teams, about mental health. So the talk about mental health, I really recommend to everyone. Like it was such a great talk and so well said. And then we had a little bit more technical, a little less more technical. We talked about documentation and everything. So it wasn't like this, Ruby tech kind of conference. It's not going to be that. If you want that, I'm sorry, but Friendly is not. We're going to have a little bit of that, but we're still going to talk about life and mental health and a little bit about business. This is what I'm trying to bring this year, a little bit more about business and people that have done it, and talk about open source and doing the indie stuff. So yeah, it's going to be very balanced, I would say.
Awesome.
Yeah, last year I think the thing I liked was it never got monotonous. Like I tend to get bored quite easily, and I just liked how we had like intense Ruby stuff. Then we had something lighter. Then we had a completely non-technical talk about mental health, like you mentioned, and it was just I thought the flow was nice that it kept me interested. Otherwise, I just zone out and I get bored.
Yep.
That's good because I'm the biggest 12-year-old my wife knows. So if it keeps me interested, it's a good thing.
I'm the same. Yeah, I know. And that's what I wanted to do. Like, I know there are people that just want to see the tech and the hard tech and the new stuff, and I understand it. But I think there are other conferences that will handle that for you. I want this to be nice. I want people to come and be and make friends and enjoy themselves and walk out and say, "Man, this was just perfect. I love it." And yeah.
Well, and you get to go to Budapest.
It's Bucharest, Charles. It's
Bucharest.
It's okay. It's okay. When big stars come and like I think AC/DC or Metallica, when they came, they come to Bucharest and say hello Budapest and the other way around. So it's okay.
No, I'm sorry.
No worries. But Bucharest is beautiful. Really.
I need to change my background to the cone of shame or something.
It's okay. It's all good.
Awesome. Well, we're kind of getting toward that hour that we usually aim for. Is there anything else that people ought to know about Avo or Friendly.rb?
Nothing much. Like with Avo, I know there are trust issues, but just give it a try. 30 minutes, an hour, and you'll figure it out. If it's not for you, I'm all good. But more importantly, like let's get to hang out in at Friendly and other events as well. But we're gonna try and host you very, very well in Bucharest in September. So if you wanna do like a trip and visit Eastern Europe, this is the perfect occasion.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's do our picks and then we'll wrap this sucker up. Adrian, one more thing before we go into picks. How do people find you online if they're like, I like Adrian and I want to talk to him?
Yep. So I am Adrian the Dev. Adrian the Dev almost everywhere, like on Twitter, on GitHub. I have Adrian the Dev as well. It's avohq.io or avo.cool. That's the domain name, avo.cool. And friendly.rb.com. But Adrian the Dev, you just search Adrian Avo, and for sure you're gonna find me. I'm on Discord, email, everything.
Awesome. All right. Valentino, why don't you start us off with our picks?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm building more and more of this little hardware called Adieu, which is kind of funny. But it's a wearable AI that's fully open source, and it works all on device, which is pretty remarkable for what it is. I highly recommend it. I finally got it working the other day on the device, and so I'm really excited to like dig in and start experimenting with it more. So check it out. It's a pretty cool project.
Don't send it to MKBHD for review.
That's the first person I'm sending it to.
But that's a great milestone to have it running on the hardware. That's a good feeling, I bet.
Yeah,
awesome.
I got it on the Google Coral device, but I have a little Raspberry Pi Zero I'm trying to put it on next, just for pricing.
Okay.
Nice. All right, Ayush, what are your picks?
I think actually a couple of weeks ago when I was on as a guest, I think my pick was Avo. So I think this is pretty serendipitous that the next time I appear,
Came full circle pretty fast, huh?
Adrian's on. I think I'm gonna go with another music pick. There's a band. Last time I'd also done a music pick, but I'm gonna stick with another one. It's a band called Big Big Train, who I've been following for a number of years, and they've just got a new album out called The Likes of Us, which I'm sure you'll find wherever you get your music. But yeah, they're about as English a band as it's possible to get. I think they're literally this country embodied in band form. But yeah, I've been following them for a number of years, and they're another one that I think should be a lot more famous than they actually are. They toured America for the first time last month, so hopefully see a bit more of that as time goes on. But yeah, I can only think of the one pick this time, so I'm going to stick with that.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to do mine. I always do a board game pick first. This is a card game, and I kind of lump them together. So if you're a purist, sorry. This is called Doomlings. I don't know if any of you guys have played Doomlings. But Doomlings is a card game. It's pretty simple. You have different color, basically traits, genetic traits. And then you have an age deck, and you go through 3 ages that all end in a catastrophe. And the catastrophe makes you adjust your play space, right? So you might, it usually lowers your hand limit. It might make you get rid of some traits, things like that. The different traits give you different points based on whatever's on the card. And anyway, it goes pretty fast. You can play it in like 20 minutes. Of course, it goes 2 to 6 players, and I've only played it 2-player with my son. He got it for his birthday last year, and he wants to play it. I want to spend time with him. It's a win-win. It's like I said, it's a pretty simple game. I've played some other games that have a lot of these elements to them that are a little more involved that I like better. But if you're looking for something that you can pick up and play with like a 10-year-old, he's 12. But and he likes it. But I think you could probably go down to 10, maybe even 8. My 8-year-old might be able to play it. I don't know if she would get like how you want to play some of the cards together to score, if that makes sense. But she can definitely play it. Like the mechanics aren't that involved. So anyway, I'm going to pick Doomlings if you're looking for kind of that simple game and you don't like the heavy games or you're playing with kids. Because I could see somebody that just kind of likes, kind of a little bit of a thinker, but you could still have a conversation with whoever you're playing with, maybe like a Sushi Go Party. It's kind of on that level as far as how complicated it is. So Doomlings, and I think there are a bunch of expansions for it too. So anyway, and then I thought my wife and I started a new TV show. Oh, we were watching the new Star Trek Discovery, which is the last season. And I mean, so far we've liked it. It's been a couple of episodes, so obviously we don't know how well the story arc goes, but it's based on an old Star Trek: The Next Generation episode for, you know, kind of the thing they're trying to find, solve, whatever. So anyway, so I'm going to pick that Star Trek Discovery. And then just a quick shout out. We have been putting ads in the shows programmatically. So some of them aren't always super relevant to you all. If you want ad-free episodes, go to rubyrogues.com/premium and you can pick that up. And then I'm doing calls every week now. I'm going to invite a bunch of the past guests to either present and or join the crew for a little while. And so if you want to come have conversations about Ruby or Rails every week, and hear from experts in the field, it's rubygeniuses.com. So yeah, that's all the stuff. Adrian, what are your picks?
What do I get to pick? Anything
you want. I picked a board game, I picked a TV show, like if there's books you like, you know, tech, whatever.
So I'm not ready, but like I love my AirPods. I still think they're one of the best products Apple makes. These are just amazing. Speaking of shows, the Three Body Problem, that was amazing. It's very good. It's on Netflix. And something tech. There's a lot of talk about Kamal and deployment and everything else. Everybody just try Hatchbox. If you're doing Rails, try Hatchbox because it's like exactly what you need. Like I was using Doku or something else before, but now I'm super happy with it. It's almost perfect, but it's very, very good. So yeah.
Yeah, I've been using Kamal and I love it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for coming, Adrian. This was a ton of fun.
Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, it was nice speaking about Avo and Friendly and seeing you guys again, Charles and Ayush. Nice meeting you, Valentino.
Nice meeting you too, Adrian.
Till next time, Max out.